Welcome, welcome, welcome to River Lake Church. We are so glad that you are here today. My name is Nick. I'm the pastor here. We believe church should be relevant, simple, and real. I want to thank all those watching online with us and joining us today. We are in the middle of a series called Clickbait, and we started it last week. And what we said essentially is every single one of us, we've got headlines, we've got clickbait, like on the internet, that kind of detracts, derails, and ultimately can destroy our future, our potential. And so the whole point of the series is to figure out how do we defeat the clickbait? How do we overcome that? And this week, we're going to be hitting an issue that I don't care how old you are, whether you're 5, 50, or 500, every single one of us, we struggle with, and it's the issue of fear. How many of you have ever in your life been scared of monsters, though? Just really quickly. 7 of us. Okay, great. Yeah. So I remember growing up, I was scared of monsters. So was my brother, which was awesome for me because I was older and meaner than he was, which is so cool. And I remember a night we lived in Florida. And in Florida, you've got fake monsters, but then you've got real monsters. Like there's the fake ones like Godzilla and the werewolf. But then there's also like, oh, there's an alligator on our porch. That's weird. And rattlesnakes. And so we had both and. And I remember one night we had a detached garage that was about 50 feet behind the house. You had to go outside, kind of go down there. Front was lit, the side was not, the garage was not. And my mom looked at my brother and said, hey, Mike, I want you to go take out the trash. And all I heard was opportunity. Okay, that's all I heard, all right? And so I'm like, yes, okay, this is awesome. So my brother, who is maybe 6 or 7 at the time or whatever, he goes out the front door, goes down the side of the front of the house, all lit, cool. He's like walking, no big deal. And I know what he did what I did, which as soon as you run that corner, you are sprinting as fast as you can. I'm not sure my feet would touch the ground at that moment. And so I wait for him to turn the corner, and I secretly go outside. I sneak up to the side while I was still in the light because I didn't want to be scared, And so I'm there, and I can hear my brother. I mean, he is like booking it, okay? He is like running down there, throws it in, not even sure he made the can, And then he is running back, and right as he rounds that corner, I'm like, blah, 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 and I touch him, and I push him, and he cried, and it was awesome, okay? It was really, really great. Mike, if you're watching, I love you. I'm not sorry, but I love you, It was awesome. I mean, I loved it. He cried. It was great. He was scared. But what I know is this. Every single one of us, we've had moments like that. I mean, I don't care how great you are. Every single person, I believe, and if you weren't, that's cool for you. But everybody I've ever run into, you've had monsters that you were scared of. You had monsters in the closet. You would shut your eyes and you would hear noises or hear voices, or I don't know about you, but every now and then I could hear the thing breathing next to me. I mean, it was terrifying. You would have monsters outside the door. You'd have to have the light on. Monsters would be outside the window. Monsters everywhere. And while intellectually we knew they weren't real, I mean, you'd have your parents say, oh, they're not real. You kind of knew it up here. In your heart, in your mind, there was a clickbait that said, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. And every night you'd go to bed, and the monster was still there saying, I'm going to get you. It never did. Under your bed, I'm going to get you. No, don't put your hand down there. I mean, there was like that safe space, And it was completely irrational. It was an irrational fear that led to irrational behavior. And as a parent, I've got 5 kids. My kids at some point in stage have all been scared of the monsters. I have looked at them, and I have even been, and I will admit this, and maybe you're a better parent than me, I have been frustrated with them, and I'm like, just get back in the room, okay? There's no such thing as monsters. I've done everything. I've walked in there with a squirt gun. I sprayed a whole room. The whole room was wet one night because one of my daughters thought if where's water, I don't know if she thought I blessed it or something. I'm not sure, but there was water all over the room in this attempt to get rid of her irrational fears. And as a parent, it can be sometimes very frustrating because it's not real. It's not fictitious. It's never going to happen. And today, what I want to talk about is I believe as frustrating as we can get with our children, I believe that, as adults, we have the same irrational fears that lead to irrational behavior. Our monsters have changed, but every single person in here, you have monsters. Monsters that lead you to believe irrational things and then ultimately lead you to do irrational behavior. See, growing up, I had, one of my monsters was secrets. Okay, I would do things and I would try to hide them. I would sneak a peek at the TV, and I was super cool. I would like set up mirrors, okay, in a way that like my parents were in the room and I could watch the TV directly, and I didn't realize that there was another mirror that my parents could see me setting up the mirror, but that's a different story, okay? I took some stuff. I stole a nail from 24 Lumber, and I had a secret, and I had secrets, and all of a sudden there was this, I'm going to get you, and if they get me, it's over. And in a room like this, there's secrets, right? They're a lot more serious than whether you snuck a peek at TV or you took a nail at a construction place. No. They're especially in a room this large, there's secrets. And with secrets come fear. And there's a monster that says they're going to find out. You better not tell anybody. If people only knew what you thought, if people only knew what you did, people only knew where you went, what you drank, what you ate, what you looked at, who you're doing things with, it's monsters. When I got older, I got some different monsters. I remember I had a monster that was a financial debt monster. And the monster, the clickbait, the headline of the whole financial monster was, I'm going to ruin you. I'm going to get you. I'm going to take everything from you. It's going to ruin you, because we had a baby without insurance one time, which, side note, don't do that, okay? That's a bad idea, but we had a baby without insurance one time, and there was like a big, large 5-digit monster staring me down saying, I'm going to ruin you. I'm going to take everything. You're going to be done, because we were only making like $32,000 a year, and Lisa wasn't working. It was just crazy, and it was this monster. It was this fear, and it crippled me in so many different ways. It crippled my walk. It crippled our finances, and it was just this monster that kept threatening me. I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. Some of you have different monsters. You're in a workplace right now, and your boss walked up to you and said, hey, listen, when you're doing the numbers, I need you to kind of fudge them a little bit, okay? Just kind of skim a little bit off the top, or maybe boost this a little bit, and they've reassured you, hey, it's okay, and everybody does that. And that's how business is done. It's not a big deal, and you're not going to get in trouble, but if you don't, you're going to get fired. It's a monster. It's a monster that says, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get your job. I'm going to get you. Some of you, especially for moms, I don't know if dads struggle with this as much, but I know moms do. For moms, it's the monster of what happened. What if something happens to my kids? And that's how helicopter moms come up, and it's that whole fear. And it's irrational, because in your head you know, they'll be fine, and it won't be a big deal, and it's not going to be a problem, whatever. But it's an irrational fear that leads to irrational behavior. And so it's this helicopter mom that continually hovers over their kids, hovers over everything, prevents them from experiencing life, prevents them from growing. And what happens is the kids grow up just kind of messed up a little bit. But it's this irrational fear, and I've talked to multiple moms who they are crippled by it. And not only are they crippled by it, their kids are crippled by it. Why? It's this irrational fear. It's this monster that says, I'm going to get you, I'm going to get your kids. And over and again. I don't know what your monster is. I know what mine are. And I know that every single person in here, you have a monster. You have an enemy in front of you. And if you're not careful, fear will get in the way of what God has for you. Fear will get in the way of your future potential. Fear will cripple where and what you're supposed to do. Because everyone's scared of something. Everyone has a monster in the closet. So we're going to look at a passage today that deals with this. How do we deal with the crippling effect of fear? And in fact, this topic is so important. We're going to spend the next 2 weeks in this. And so if we get to the end of the story and you're kind of like, oh, that really didn't conclude very well, you're right. Okay, there's a second half of this, but as I was walking through it, it was just so much stuff that I was like, man, we're going to spend 2 weeks on this. And we're going to pick up a story. If you've got a Bible, I want to encourage you to turn there. We'll put up on the screen if you don't. But we're going to pick up a story in 1 Kings chapter 19. And up to this moment, we're going to pick up a story with a guy named Elijah. And he has had the single greatest day, I believe, in the history of mankind. I don't know how awesome your day is, but hopefully I'm going to convince you his was better. Because in this day that he's coming off, in 1 Kings chapter 18, Elijah does 3 incredible things. Number 1 is this. He picks a fight with a whole nation. And in the kind of winning moment, he prays, and fire from heaven comes down and blows something up. Anybody ever had that happen to them? I didn't think so. Okay, yeah. So your day isn't as good, all right? The second thing is he wipes out all the false gods. Like right after that, it's like he just takes over, he takes command, he steps up, he's like, I'm large and in charge, wipe them out. He wipes them all out. Yay, God, victory for God. Awesome moment. Third thing is, and this may be the most incredible thing, the nation was in a physical, emotional, and spiritual drought. 7 years, nothing, no rain clouds, nothing touched the ground. And Elijah goes, I got this. So it says Elijah prayed, And there was a small cloud off the side, and he kept praying, and the cloud kept getting bigger. He kept praying, and all of a sudden, it rained. The drought is over. That's a heck of a day. I don't know about your day. His is better, which is really, really important because of what happens next. Elijah is having the best day, and if there's ever a moment where you can feel like God is with me, God's got it. Like me and God, we are so tight, and I have so much faith in God, and I have so much trust in God. Some of you are right there right now, that you're going, man, life is good. Life is great. God's answering my prayers. God's fixing things. Life is good. Let me tell you right now, this today may be more for you than it is for the people who your lives aren't going very well. Because there are some people in here right now, you know your fears. You know your monsters. And I'm hopefully we're going to walk through some stuff to help you. But there's some of you who are like, Nick, I'm not scared of nothing. Be careful that you don't fall in the trap of what Elijah falls into. Because Elijah right now, he's walking around going, I'm money. We're going to pick up the story right. I'm talking minutes maybe, 30 minutes, maybe an hour after he has this amazing day. Here's what it says. 1 Kings 19 says this. So Jezebel, that is the king's wife. He just got done whipping the king. This is the wife. She's like number 2 in command, probably number 1. Sent a messenger to Elijah to say, may the gods deal with me. Which gods? The gods that Elijah just whipped. The gods of the prophets of the God that he just wiped out. That's the God. May the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like that of one of them. She is mad because Elijah just wiped out her whole religion, just wiped out all of her prophets, just proved that Yahweh, Israel's God, the real God, really does reign, and she is mad. Let me just pause real quick and say to some of you, hey, even when you do the right thing, even when you have the best day, even when God's answering all your prayers, trust me, it will tick somebody else off, okay? Even when you are faithful to God, it doesn't matter. That may be the time that it makes somebody the most mad. And Jezebel, don't miss this, she sends a message. Why? Because she can't really do anything, and she knows that. Like Elijah just whipped everybody. The whole nation is aware of it right now on some level. The troops that witnessed it, they're not going to touch Elijah. The prophets that might go after him, they're all dead. Her husband, the king, who witnessed like fire come from heaven, clouds coming forward, thunder, lightning, like he's not going to touch Elijah. And I think she realizes, I can't touch this dude, but I can send him a message. And again, this is where some of you are at right now. Like you have an ex-spouse who can't touch you. Like you're good. There's nothing you've done wrong. There's nothing, but you know what they can do? They can send you a text message and it ruin your whole day. They can send you an email. Or you got an ex-friend, or you've got somebody on Facebook, or maybe you just got an enemy, okay? Like you know that they don't like you at all, and you know they have no power on you or whatever, but what do? They threaten you. Hey, I'm going to tell somebody, I'm going to lie about you. I'm going to do that. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to take your kids. I'm going to take you to court. It's collectors. You're having a great day. Collector calls. I'm going to take your house. I'm going to take your stuff. It's a threat. It's a threat that we all walk through. Every single one of us. We've got an enemy in front of us. But here's the crazy part about this. It's a false enemy. It's an irrational enemy. Because Elijah's already defeated her gods. And Elijah's already won the battle. But as we said last week, and we're going to say the whole time, the enemy within you is always, always, always greater than the enemy in front of you. And the problem is the clickbait in our minds. It doesn't matter what's happening around here. It doesn't matter that monsters don't exist. It doesn't matter that there's no werewolves. There's a clickbait headline in our head that says, I'm going to get you. And she sends him a message, and she says, I'm going to get you. And he wasn't ready for it. And so what does he do? Next verse. Elijah was afraid and ran for his life. It's crazy to me. It's crazy. This is the guy that just prayed fire from heaven, has rain come, wiped out all the prophets, and somebody's text message drives him away from God's presence, drives him away from God's potential, drives him away from his calling, drives him away from everything. A text message. And again, I can relate. That's happened to me. I get a phone call from somebody, and it ruins my day. I'm doing good, this is great, and something goes wrong. Somebody's upset, whatever. It just messes it up. Every single one of us. And we fight the wrong battles with it. See, here's what, and I want to go back, Tom, I know I messed it kind of up, but I want to go back. There's a quote from a guy named Louis Giglio. He wrote a book called Goliath Must Fall, and if you're looking for a good book to read, I would encourage that. He's a smart guy. He says this, fear is putting more faith in your enemy than in your God. Fear, ultimately, when you break down fear, what is it? It's, and I would add the word irrational. It's an irrational way, it's an irrational faith in your enemy more than a very rational faith in your God. It's this way to sit back and go, yeah, I see my God and I know it's done here, but in my heart, that enemy's huge. And we forget that the enemy is really inside, not in front of us. The real enemy is right up here. It's the stories we tell ourselves. It's the fear that we have. It's the moments that we replay and have on repeat in our mind over and over and over and over and over again. That's what fear is. And Elijah walks into this moment and he thinks, oh, I'm good. And he starts to let his guard down, I believe. He starts to think, no, I'm good. God's got it. I'm fine. Let's go. And it's at that moment. That's why I said early on, if you're doing good, if you're doing great, if things are awesome, listen, pay attention. Don't let your guard down. This is what causes the roller coaster, the up and down relationships with God. It's because I believe sometimes we put our guard down just enough and we get blindsided. And all of a sudden, fear starts to creep into our worlds. And the monster says, I'm going to get you. And it's irrational, and it doesn't make sense. And sometimes we even say, I know it won't happen, but I know my kids will be fine, but, and the clickbait headline goes, I know that God will take care of me and my finances, and I know he always has, but what if it doesn't? I know, and then just a but that comes into the way, and it's the clickbait headline that says, but what if he doesn't? What if it gets me? What if the monster's real? And it gets me. I know, but Elijah, he hears this, and he runs. And running works, though. Let me just pause real quick and say this. Running away works every time. It really does. I mean, there's a reason that we do it, because every time we're confronted with an enemy, we do one of two things, right? We fight or flight. We respond, and I'm going to get you. You're going to yell at me. I'm going to yell at you. You're going to post something about me that's really vague on Facebook. I'm going to come back at you. You're going to say that. You're going to spread that gossip. You're going to spread that lie. I'm going to set the story straight. I'm going to get you back. It's fight or flight. And running works. But you just need to understand, running will always protect you from the pain. But it will also prevent you from seeing your potential. And so the problem and the tension is, in every single one of us, in every single moment, is there is potential pain, but also great potential for your future. And so, again, in a room like this, we've had people that are hurt. People that have been let down by a spouse or a loved one or whatever. And so what do? We run from the pain, not physically, but emotionally. We just kind of shut down. I'm not going to let anybody ever hurt me again. I'm not going to let anybody ever come into my world. I'm not going to trust anybody else. Yeah, I'm going to keep everybody kind of here. And it works. You run. You don't feel the pain. But the problem is this. It also prevents your potential. And everybody I run into that has that kind of tension of like, I'm never going to let anybody else in, secretly or maybe even privately with me, they'll say, yeah, but Nick, I would love to have a marriage like that person's though. Oh man, I would love to have another best friend. I would love to have that intimate relationship with somebody else. I really want that. But that's the tension with fear. Fear will drive you away, and it will protect you, but it will also prevent you. And every single moment, we've got to make a decision. I've had moments where, you know what, if I'm being honest, there was potential in front of me, but my fear drove me away. As a matter of fact, I'm walking through something right now, and we're not close enough for me to share it personally right now, but I'm just going to tell you abstractly, so, don't ask me later what it is, but there's something right now that I have run from, I believe, for about 28, 30 years of my life. And God's been working, and I believe I have squashed potential for years, and I've got some good friends in my world that keep pushing me and push me. I'm finally in this moment where I'm like, okay, I might do that. But I just got to be honest, there's fear. There's fear of failure. There's fear of looking silly. There's fear of what other people might think. And if we're not careful, fear, we don't control the clickbait. We don't learn to deal with it. Fear will hold us back from the potential that God has for every single one of us. So the story goes on. When he came to Beersheba, he's run away in Judah. He left his servant there. I don't have enough time to unpack this. I wish I did, but let me just say this. Fear drives out potential, but it also drives out relationships. It will drive out your potential. But don't miss this. When we get scared, we start to tell ourselves things. We start to get frustrated, and we start to drive other people away. We start to hide things. We start to keep things secret. We start to become distant because we tell ourselves lies that, you know what, they would not understand. I'm struggling with depression. I'm struggling with frustration. I'm struggling with fear. And you know what? They just wouldn't understand. I'm not going to tell anybody else. I'm not going to open up. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to drive them away. Or we start to say things like, you know what? They're just better off without me. Okay, I'm such a mess. I'm so crazy. I mean, they think I'm okay, but you know, it's better for them if I just walk away, if I just distance myself, if I just don't go hang out with them, if I just don't go to small group, and just walk away. Elijah drops him off. Says, oh, it'd be better for you to stay here, buddy. Oh, I'm protecting you. Oh, no, they're after me. They're not after you. Just stay here. I'm going to go away. But the reality was it's fear driving his behavior. And if you're in a moment right now where you feel yourself drifting away from some people, maybe naturally, maybe not even aware of it, you're distancing yourself from your spouse, you're distancing yourself from a friend, you're distancing yourself from a church or a relationship or maybe a job or whatever. Listen, you just need to understand there is a really good chance fear is playing a part. And it's going to nuke, it's going to blow up your potential with what you ultimately really, really want. Next verse. While he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, he came to a broom bush, sat down under it, and prayed that he might die. I just want to pause real quick and say this. Just why did he leave? So he wouldn't die. What did he pray? I want to die. There is a disconnect there. But again, I just want to walk through this because there's so much here that it's just so easy to miss it. Fear. Fear will drive away your potential. It will drive away your friends. It will also drive away your common sense. It will drive away so many things. And it will disconnect so many things. And if you're in a situation where you find yourself making this weird decisions and disconnected decisions and saying, you know, I really want to spend more time with my kids, and then they don't respond well, you just forget it, I'm done. It's just, they're better off without me. That's fear. It's fear of getting hurt. It's fear of pain. Or with your spouse, you're fighting and fighting and fighting. You're fighting for your marriage and you're fighting for your marriage and you're working hard and you're investing in them and you're kind of going there and you hold it, and they don't respond some way. They don't respond like you think. It's one step back and you're like, you know what, fine. Okay, I thought it was worth it. I'm going to walk away. You're walking away from the potential marriage that you want. Why? Because it's fear of getting hurt, fear of pain, fear of rejection. We do it all the time. I do it all the time. And he says this and he's like, listen, just kill me. I'm done. I've run into people that just have been doing amazing health initiatives, losing weight, working out, trying to get stronger, get better, whatever that is. Maybe for health reasons. Maybe just because they want to look better. I don't know what it is, but they do good for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, you know, and they're doing really good, and people compliment them. And then they have a bad weekend. They had a bad week. They start to stress eat or whatever, and they kind of walk through this very, very short season in their life where they kind of fail in that, and people start to say something to them, and they just go, you know what, I was happier the other way around. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. Don't lie. That's why you started, because you weren't happy. But again, we can lie. We can say backwards, messed up things because fear drives out common sense. Fear drives out our logic, and fear makes us believe things. It's irrational behavior. He's behaving irrationally. He says, God, just kill me. And then he takes a nap. And he goes on. The angel of the Lord came back a second time. He's been napping a lot lately. I do that too. Anybody take naps? No? Bunch of liars. Okay, anyway, second time, and touched him and said, get up and eat. The journey is too much for you. And this is where we're going to end the story this week. Again, it's a fascinating story. We're going to unpack it more next week. But we're going to end here because I think there's something here that is incredibly important for every single one of us to remember as we walk through fear. Elijah has done what I would say is everything wrong. He's run from God's presence. He's run from God's potential, and he's run from God's people. He's in this place of solitude and loneliness, and he is there, and he has done, and he just wants to die, and he wants to just be gone. He's just, God, just take me away. Done. And God's response is, journey's too tough for you, buddy. You can't do it alone. He speaks into Elijah's world, and he says, you can't do it alone. The journey is too tough. And for every single one of us in here, what I would say is this. One of the reasons that we're scared, one of the reasons that we're walking through frustrations and we're walking away from potential is because too often I find in the critical moments, the big moments of our life, we kind of go backwards and we don't let people in. We don't let people into our worlds. We start to get depressed. We start to get frustrated. We start to get angry. We start to get scared. And we don't open up about it because of all the reasons we've talked about. And I love this because it's so important in a world that is so connected through Facebook, so connected from a superficial level, but not connected at a very real level. Too often, one of my favorite things to do is just find a few people and have lunch with them or breakfast with them regularly. Why? Because I know I need people to speak into my life. I know whether it's good stuff or bad stuff, I just need people to go, hey, Nick, sometimes you're an idiot. And I need that. I don't like it. I don't go, oh, thank you. That was amazing. Okay, yeah. How else am I being an idiot? But I need that. I need people in my world who, when I'm frustrated, when I'm down, when I have irrational fears about an irrational monster in my way, that I can be honest with and say, hey, I'm really struggling with this. And they go, no, you're fine, and kind of redirect me. I need that. I need my church. I need a small group of friends. I need that. You need that. And some of you are walking away from it because you think you're okay, or you think they wouldn't understand, or you got all these lies in your head and you're behaving irrationally even though you know you need it in your head. Because you're believing the lie. You're clicking on the clickbait that says they're better off without you. You got this. And God reminds Elijah, the journey is too tough. But the second thing, and this hit me this week early in the morning, one morning, and I was praying through this, is that there's some real irony in Elijah's posture and moment right now, because he really believes the myth that, I've walked away, I've gone too far, I'm too far gone. And God in this moment, I love it, it's beautiful, because I think it's what God does to us so often. It's what God does to me almost daily. The angel picks him up. And not in a judgment, not in a condemnation of like, you can't do it alone, what's wrong with you, you fool, you messed it up. No, I just believe the angel's picking him up, putting his arm around him, and going, Elijah, you can't do it alone, buddy. I got you. I got some food for you. I got a nap. I got a journey I want you to take. I got a destination I want you to go on. I got you. And some of you need to be reminded today that you've walked away from God in an area of your life. And maybe this is your first time back in church in years. I don't know where you're at. Maybe you come every single week, you give, you serve, and on the surface, everything is great, but you know your heart, you know that you know your relationship with God is not nearly what it used to be, and you've been kind of running from God, not physically, but spiritually. I want to remind you that no matter how alone you feel, God's got you. He hasn't left you. You can't go that far. And you might feel alone. But listen, you need to understand, feelings fail you all the time. Just because you feel it doesn't mean it's real. I feel a lot of things. Most of them aren't real. Fear. Fear will make you feel like I'm going to get you. Like you can't do it. Like you'll never get past it. You'll never overcome it. It's not real. I remember one of the moments where I started to overcome my fears of monsters. I don't know how you did it. Everybody at some point in time when you grow up, you kind of figure out monsters aren't real and you kind of do it. But I remember the statement that the clickbait, the new clickbait I had to start clicking on, the new thing. I had to replace the lie with the truth, because the lie was, it's going to get you. It's going to get you. And we lived in a house at that time in Illinois, and it had this like scary basement with like concrete steps down, and it was dark, and it was nasty, and it was old house, and it was like creaky and the whole deal. You know what I'm talking about? Like, anybody had a basement growing up like that? Yeah, they were terrifying, okay, even today. But I remember I was walking down those steps one day, and I don't remember the monster. The monster's irrelevant. Could have been a werewolf. Could have been Dracula. Could have been Godzilla. I don't think Godzilla would fit in the basement, but that's, irrational fears. But I remember walking down, and I had this kind of pause of like, am I going to run in there and run back up the stairs? And I just told myself, you know what? It's one of those things logically just kind of hit me. You know what? If there really is a 7-foot werewolf down there, it's done anyway. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not going to be like, okay, I'm going to wait. Oh, Nick didn't come down. Okay, I guess I have to wait till tomorrow. Okay, there was no moment. Like the hollow wooden door that stood between the closet and me, that's not going to stop him. If the werewolf was in my house, I'm done. I'm dead. It's over. Just go ahead and move on. Because that's the reality. And I started to remind myself in the midst of those scared moments, in the midst of the monsters, you know what? It's over either way. I can't control what happens to me. I can't control the monsters that come into my world. I can't control the thoughts that hit my mind. You know what I can control? I can control how I respond to them. I can control what I do with them. I can control whether I freak out about them or I put my faith in God. That's what I can control. And my dad said one of the smartest things to me. He looked at me one day and he said, I was scared. And he goes, Nick. He leaned down. He goes, Nick, am I scared? I'm like, no, but you're like 100, okay? You know, like you could leave tonight and be fine. Like, I didn't say that to him. You know, he goes, Nick, are you scared? Am I scared? I'm like, no. And he goes, yeah, here's what I want you to do. You look to me. The moment I'm scared, you need to be scared. But if I'm okay, you just need to know I love you more than you. Never do anything to hurt you. So if I'm okay, you're okay. And some of you need to realize right now you're walking through a really painful situation. And for some of you, the monster is very, very real. For some of you, the monster is a health scare, and it's not a scare. It's a reality. For some of you, it's a financial issue, and it's not a scare. It's a very real monster and a very tangible monster. And you can't control whether it gets you. You can't control whether the werewolf comes in, where the health hits, whether they take the house, whether they go after you and they get you. You can't control any of that stuff. What you can't control is how you respond to it. What you can control is how you deal with it. What you can control is what you're going to do with the monsters in the closet. And you get to decide, I'm going to click on the clickbait, and I'm going to go there, and I'm going to spend all my days worrying and stressing, or I can look to my Heavenly Father, and I can trust that, you know what, He loves me more than I love myself. He's got a plan for me. He loves me. He's redeemed me, and I'm okay. It may not work out like I think. It may not work out like I want. But my God is with me in the storm, in the pain, in the frustration, in the messages. He is with me, and He has never forsaken me. So I don't know what you're walking through this week. I don't know what your monster is. What I want to encourage you to do is this. This is your step. The moment that you feel fear, because it's a feeling, isn't it? It's not real. It's a feeling. The moment you feel it and you are tempted to fight or flight, would you just pause? Before you send the email, before you quit the job, before you tell the person off, before you post it on Facebook, all the drama, before you do anything else, before you respond, before you call your best friend freaking out, before you start crying, before you start get overwhelmed, would you just pause and look to your Heavenly Father and ask Him to remind you that He is with you, to remind you that He has you, to remind you that this is not a surprise to Him, that this is not anything new, and that He has it all worked out. To remind you, He is God. I am not. To click on Him and not on the bait that will distract, detract, and ultimately destroy whatever it is, whatever potential, whatever future, whatever thing God has for you. Would you do that? I want to ask you all, would you stand with me? There's two people I want to speak to very, very quickly. Number one is this. There's some people in here today right now that you're a Christian, but you're Elijah. You've walked away from God emotionally, spiritually, maybe not physically, but you've walked away from Him. Your relationship isn't quite as close. Maybe you even believe the lie. You know what? If you only knew what I did, God wouldn't love me. God's not with me. I don't feel Him anymore. Feelings fail you. Feelings aren't real. God is real. God is with you. God has you. That's reality. I want to invite you back. I want to invite you to today to turn into Him, to turn back into that, to start to take your relationship with Him seriously, to start to move in His direction and realize He never left you, He's never forsaken you, and what He promised was life and life to the fullest. I want to encourage you to do that. The second is, there's some people in here today and you just, I'm talking about being alone, I'm talking about being scared, I'm talking about fear, and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, that's my life. I get up every single day and I'm terrified. And it's different. The monsters are different. The monsters change, but the fear is there. The fear is constantly there. Some of you, you're here and you're hearing about that, and you don't have that. You are alone. You don't have that relationship with God. You don't have that trust. You don't have that ability. I want to invite you into a relationship with God. And Scripture says this, that it's not a prayer. There's no pixie dust prayer that magically saves you. There's no you can walk forward. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but here's the deal. Here's what it does say. Here's how you do find hope. Here's how you do find grace. Here's what it looks like. Scripture says, listen, there's a moment that you've got to make a decision that I'm giving my life, not my problems. Everybody's cool with giving Jesus their problems, their life to God, and saying, okay, I believe. I believe you're God. I believe you've got this. I believe you're for me. I believe you died for me. And I believe that you can be in relationship with me. I give you my life. It's a decision. I want to encourage you. Make that decision today. Don't wait. I'm going to pray. We're going to dismiss. And if you've made that decision today, I want to encourage you. Would you fill out the Connect card? We would love to follow up with you. We would love to mentor you. We'd love to just pray with you, coach you, whatever you need, walk with you in a new journey with God. But would you mark that? I gave my life to Christ, and hand it in so that we can help you in this new journey with God. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much. Thank you for grace. Thank you for mercy. Thank you for your future. Thank you that some monsters aren't real. And thank you that even the ones that are, I thank you that you're bigger than them. That we can put more faith in you than in our enemies, and we can trust that you have us, that you've got what is best for us. I pray that you would help us walk out with a boldness, with a strength, with a confidence. 2 Timothy 1:7 says you didn't give us a spirit of timidity or fear, but a power of love and of self-discipline. Let us walk in that power. Let us walk in that discipline. Let us walk in that love, not holding people off, not covering up, not running from it, but being who you've called us to be. Let us be the church. Let us no longer be afraid. We love you. We thank you so much. Amen. God bless.
I will rise, stand